Hello, friends. Dr. Nels here. This week we're coming to you with information on kids and boundaries with sports. Hello, friends. Dr. Nels here, coming to you this week with more information on life, leadership, and business. And this week on some kids' things, helping build your values and principles so that you can be the best version of you. And we're back this week again with my beautiful wife, Karen, since she's such an incredible mother, coach, mentor to our children and our entire family, me included. And this week we're going to visit with you about kids' sports and boundaries. We will likely do some more discussions on this when our kids graduate high school with some more information, because this is vitally important and getting wildly out of control for many families. So we hope if you're watching this and you struggle, or you know someone that is in the middle of the rat race we call kids sports, feel free to pass this on to them. They may like it, they may disagree, we don't care. What we are trying to do is just bring you information from people that are living it or have lived it. Because this gentleman you see from and hear from does not like to hear or learn from people that aren't doing what I'm trying to do. We coach people. If there's something you want to do and be really good at, reach out to those people that are doing it and really good at it. Other than that, like last Friday, I heard from a couple of veterinarians for over 2 hours trying to coach us on practice things and ethics and some other stuff who aren't in practice. And I was very annoyed. Didn't listen because they're not doing it. We hear and want to hear from people doing it. I'm sorry I rambled there a bit, but it really annoys me. And we want to hear from people, listen to people, learn from people, getting shit done that are in the trenches, doing it every day. Other than that, we don't want to hear from them. And we've been through some trenches in kids sports. So, and I think many people have, and we feel like it's a valued subject, a sensitive subject for many involved. But boundaries are a necessary thing. And for you, Karen, how do you decide when it's time to say no to another game, another practice, or if our kids wanted to do something at all in any sport that they were choosing to do?
So this question is a little bit probably twofold, because when you talk about saying no to another game or tournament or something like that, the line that you walk is that your child already committed, right? So if your child doesn't show up, then they're letting down the other people that they made a commitment to, their teammates, which is not fair to their teammates. Now, when we talk about games, though, I'll give you an example of times that I've set boundaries for our kids because they weren't able to yet, and I was unapologetic about it. Here a few years back, Mackenzie was doing traveling volleyball. She was also in, I think, regular volleyball season. She had a really hard science test coming up, just a lot of stuff going on. And she came home one night. She and I ended up at the kitchen counter where we spend a lot of hours together working on stuff. And pretty soon, Mackenzie is our non-emotional kid, I would say, for the most part. She's not quick to show emotion. And she ended up in an absolute meltdown. And I realized we just had way too much going on. So I picked up the phone, I called her coach, and I said, hey, I'm really sorry. Mac isn't going to be at practice tonight. We've got too much going on. She's got a test that she needs to study for. She's feeling very overwhelmed with life. And I was extremely unapologetic about making that phone call because Mac didn't know how to set the boundary for herself nor where that line was. So it was my job as a parent to read the situation and know that we had reached our limit of what we can do. We also, just as soon as today, made a decision to cut out one of Mac's activities this year that she's been doing for years. And that was a difficult decision for Mackenzie. But, as she's getting older, she's having internships that she's wanting to take part in. She's got sports. She's still got a strong school schedule. And there's just not enough time for her to do everything. And last year, I just watched her take kind of a mental beating on her own accord because of everything she had to do. So we helped make that decision that maybe this year those things needed to change a little bit. as her goals have changed.
So how did you arrive at setting those boundaries? How did you get to that part? What led you there? And I need to help Mackenzie or Nash with a boundary, with a sport or an activity or a coach, for them and their identity for these things outside of sports.
Well, I think unfortunately, probably in a few circumstances, I was almost a little late in setting the boundary because I didn't realize where we were until I realized the emotional toll that it was taking. I think I realized it, but not till we'd reached a meltdown level. So probably in a lot of cases, I was a little bit behind it. But as soon as I realized that flag was there and it was hugely red flag and it was up the pole, it was, then you're forced to do something. Hindsight tells you maybe you should have sooner, but that's just, that's part of parenting.
Yeah, so in terms of that episode that Mackenzie melted down, that wasn't really necessarily anywhere near a game or post-game, because there's meltdowns sometimes after games, etc.
Sure.
But you noticed this, and I guess what I'm getting at is we need to be careful. There's can be meltdowns post-game, but how do we make sure we don't miss it when they've got tension and anxiety building in them?
Right. And I think that just comes to opening the lines of communication with them to know that. And it just depends, I guess, on your kid. Nash is very easy for me to read when we're there. I can see his coming. I know it's there. Mackenzie's a little bit tougher because she's a little bit more of an internalizer of things and tends to not say much. So it's just, for me, I probably check in maybe more than I should. But just, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Are you keeping up with everything? How can I help you? Do you need...
Yeah, and that goes back to some of your time with them as you're doing supper or whatever you're doing around the house, and they're doing their
Staying
homework.
in the know of what's going on.
Sitting there.
Again, not taking the pain away from them, but at least knowing where we need to help create those boundaries.
What percentage of parents do you think are applying too much pressure to their kids to be successful at sports?
I think probably most parents that have their kids in sports, and I think that every parent has done that. We've done it. I mean, there's been times that we've been frustrated watching the kids come off of a tennis court or a golf course or but I just remind myself and I remind the kids constantly that sports never have and never will define who they are as a human. Sports for our family is a game, and it's entertainment, and it's something that we should love to do and we should enjoy doing. And that when it gets past the point of it feeling that way for us, then we need to decide if it's something that we need to continue to do or not, because we are vividly aware of the fact that tomorrow you may wake up and no longer have the ability to play that sport. So the problem is, like,
We've
for
faced
Nash,
that.
Had he believed that his identity rested in a basketball game or a football field, luckily he plays golf still because he absolutely loves it, but if he felt like that's where his identity resided, and then he has his accident, and in the blink of an eye that's taken away from him, that leaves him in a very, very difficult place emotionally and mentally.
Yeah, we were forced to accept that he was never going to get paid for athletics ever, and there's a much greater purpose. The other thing that we started using the word was athletics and sports is pure entertainment. We started doing that, using that term 2 or 3 years ago. And I think we all need to understand, athletics and sports is purely entertainment. That's all it is. You can make it out to be whatever you want, that's fine. But at the end of the day, it's entertainment. Now, are there opportunities for kids playing on a team to learn teamwork, leadership, etc.? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, it's entertainment for everyone else, and parents get wrapped up well beyond entertainment.
And for some kids, it is a means to attend college or to open some doors, some things like that, which I have full respect for that. I have 100% respect for that. I understand that completely.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing that has always, been in the back of my mind is if you have a bad game or if you have a bad day, that doesn't change who you are. That was never who you were when the day started. And I always tell Nash and Mackenzie on game days, I don't know how this ends today, but I will love you the same tonight when we get home as I did this morning when I woke up. Like, my feelings for you will not change based on your performance. Now, I want them to do the best they can. That's not
Absolutely.
a pass to go out and not give it your best effort,
Yeah.
because that's what you're there
Yeah.
for. And you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your teammates, and you owe it to your coaches to give your very best effort while you're there.
But you've never tied their identity to a sport
Or their worth. Absolutely.
or their worth. How have you done that? So when we say that, I think a lot of things happen. Parents have good intentions, but through actions and communication, kids then tie their identity to sport. How do you parent to not do that?
Well, I'll just use an example that what I think is correct. I mean, I don't know if I'm doing all this right, but this is what I think to be correct.
Yeah, fair enough.
If Nash goes out and plays a round of golf and he has a really bad day and the putter's just not working, the driver's not on fire, and he has a bad round of golf, when he gets home, he doesn't need me to tell him that. He
Yeah.
is very well aware that he did not play his best.
He knows the game well enough. He's been coached well enough, done it long enough.
If Mackenzie has a rough day at tennis, she knows she didn't play well. She doesn't need me to tell her that. But if I harp on it, for me, in my thinking, then I am making that part of their identity and who they are and their self-worth. Because they don't need me to tell them that they had a bad day. They know they had a bad day.
Yeah.
When I make a mistake at work, I
Yeah.
know I made a mistake at work. I don't need you to tell me about it when I get home. You know what I mean? So I think it's really more our actions and how we as parents respond to those failures and shortfalls, if you will, that show them what kind of emphasis we place on that sport.
And the other thing has just been, since they were kids, reminding them, what are you going to do after high school?
Well, I think I've told them since a very early age, everybody's going professional, and most of them are not going in sports. And you're not going professional in sports. So, you know.
Yeah. So asking that question or telling them also, helping them realize their identity is not tied to just sports.
Right.
Their identity is tied to what are they going to become? Who are they going to become? What's their purpose in life? And I think that's one of our golden opportunities with kids sports is, hey, while you're coaching them or mentoring your own children, don't ever forget to talk to them about life beyond the game.
Right.
So they don't place their identity, because a lot of parents spend all their time coaching their children, mentoring their children in sports, but they've not asked them, what's your plan? What do you want to do? What's your passion about? What do you love? What's your goal? Or coach them, what's really noble? What's something really noble to do? I think there's always opportunity to ask those questions to them beyond asking them or talking to them about a game.
Well, and to recognize that, you know, someday they're going to be like us, where you sit around and you relive your high school glory days of sports, and they were wonderful. You have some of your very best memories from those moments, right?
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. But the constant reminder for us that you don't know when your last basketball game is. You don't know. It may be sooner than you chose for it to be. And so you need to, I hope that parents will build the confidence within their kids to know that when that day comes, whether it's the day that they chose for it to end or it's the day that it was chosen for them for it to end, that it can be well with their soul.
So very good. So if you're watching this, maybe you have a kid that's raising kids, maybe you know someone that could use some time watching this, benefiting from this. It may be hard for some to watch this and agree with it while they're in the middle of the battle, and some people may totally disagree, and that's okay. But I think asking the question, what are you passionate about to your children? Where do you want to go after high school? What do you want to do? What are you thinking about? What are your big goals beyond a ball or a ball field? Asking them those sort of questions to focus beyond any sport so they can go on and be the best version of themselves, because I think all these kids want to be the best version of themselves. But when we're in the heat of sports, things get tense, we lose a game, we don't get the playing time, things can get pretty negative, pretty ugly, pretty quick, and we're focusing on entertainment because it's simply entertainment. There's people making millions, and that's wonderful, great for them, but they are a very extremely small percentage. Most of us have to think beyond the game, and what can we nobly do in a purposeful life to do absolutely incredible things, being the best version of ourselves to help society. We need to place a lot of focus on that with our kids as they grow, get coached, get molded. So we're glad you joined us today. We hope you enjoyed my beautiful wife being here. Thanks for joining us. Click here if you like this content, and we will see you next week.